Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Bold and the Beautiful spoilers, September 30th. Hope is torn between heart and history A. Restless silence hovers over Los Angeles this week as The Bold and the Beautiful turns its spotlight squarely on Hope Logan. After months of emotional whiplash, complicated ties, and simmering regrets, September 30th brings a pivotal moment where Hope must confront the truth about where her heart lies, even if that truth threatens the peace she's desperately tried to maintain. The weight of choices Hope stands at a crossroads she thought she had firmly passed months ago. But fate, memory, and desire have their own timelines. Her connection with Thomas Forrester shifted from artistic collaboration into forbidden chemistry, then blurred further into something she tried to deny. That denial began cracking after their quiet split, when she believed she could simply return to the woman she was before. But the woman she was before is gone. And now, with Liam's recent admissions, Douglas longing for stability, and Thomas stepping away to protect his heart, she finds herself pulled in two directions, one toward safety, the other toward possibility. Hope never meant to create damage. Yet, as whispers of Thomas's absence circulate Forrester creations, she feels the tension rising among those who once thought they had her path figured out. Brooke senses her daughter's turmoil and mistakes it for guilt tied to Liam. But Brooke has no idea how deeply Thomas's departure has unsettled Hope. The absence is louder than the presence ever was. Thomas. Shadow lingers, though Thomas has physically removed himself from her orbit. His influence remains everywhere. Their design collaboration had become an extension of their emotional bond. And with him retreating, Hope can't help but feel as though a piece of her identity has gone with him. Steffi catches the shift too. Ever protective of her brother, she approaches Hope cautiously. She isn't there to influence Hope's decisions so much as to make sure her silence doesn't hurt Thomas further. Steffi makes it clear, if Hope wants Thomas out of her life, she owes him clarity. But if there is something more, something real she needs to stop hiding behind old loyalties. Hope is stunned to hear Steffi speak without hostility. There's no manipulation, no agenda, a simple, pointed truth. And that truth stirs something deep within Hope, fear and longing. Liam doesn't give up. Meanwhile, Liam is not giving up quietly. His latest conversations with Hope have been filled with reminders of their history, their family, and the image of the life they once shared. He believes Thomas is the obstacle of phase, a mistake, a momentary lapse in judgment brought on by artistic proximity and emotional confusion. He's wrong, and Hope knows it. But admitting that out loud feels like shattering glass. Liam represents the version of herself she spent years building: a devoted wife, a stable mother, a woman who always did the right thing. But the right thing has become the wrong fit. And the truth is something she can no longer stuff down. On September 30th, Liam takes his campaign a step further by arriving unexpectedly at the cabin. He isn't angry, but he's insistent, pressing gently about the possibility of reconciliation. He frames it as fate giving them another chance, as though love can be reassembled the way it once stood. Hope listens, polite and quiet, but her eyes betray the storm inside. Liam thinks her silence is consideration. It's actually confusion laced with clarity she's not ready to voice. Brooke's warnings return. Brooke remains poised, maternal and subtly firm. She's relieved that Thomas has stepped back and believes it's time for Hope to refocus her life. Old patterns resurface. Brooke reminds her daughter that love built on trust lasts, and that familiarity should not be dismissed in pursuit of something unpredictable. But Hope has grown tired of everyone else defining her path. Brooke, well-meaning as she is, continues to frame Thomas as a threat rather than a man who changed. Hope hasn't forgotten his past, but she also hasn't forgotten who Liam became in the shadows of their failed attempts to fix things. Her heart has grown complicated, and Brooke's black and white view no longer matches her reality. A voice she didn't expect, person who nudges Hope in the most surprising direction. This week is none other than Ridge. after a short walk through Forrester Creations. He notices the unease and Hope's quiet glances and furrowed thoughts. Unlike Brooke, Ridge doesn't push an agenda. He simply acknowledges change, people evolve, circumstances shift. And sometimes the thing that looks like a rupture is actually a redirection. He reminds her of something subtle and profound. Feeling torn isn't a sign of failure. It's a sign that your heart is telling the truth. Even when your mind hasn't caught up yet. Hope doesn't answer him. But the relief of being seen without judgment brings a breath of calm. She hasn't felt in days. Douglas in the middle. Douglas remains the emotional center no one can ignore. He misses Thomas, but also cherishes his time with Hope. He is perceptive, too perceptive for his Ajand. His questions have gone unspoken, but not unnoticed. Hope worries what her next move will mean for him. Is it kinder to remain distant from Thomas to avoid raising the boy's expectations? Or is her avoidance the very thing causing uncertainty? Thomas stepped back because he believed Hope genuinely wanted to move on. But Douglas can sense the unfinished thread between his parents' hearts. Hope sees that in his eyes. And it makes the decision before her feel even heavier. The moment of cracking on September 30th. The silence she's maintained begins to splinter. Thomas doesn't appear in person, but a phone call, short, polite, professional, and settles her more than any heated argument could. He speaks to her like a colleague, nothing more, and it hits her harder than she imagined. She hears restraint where there used to be warmth. She hears distance where there used to be devotion. After the call, she sits alone in the cabin, hands clasped, breath shallow. The world around her is quiet, but inside, the noise is deafening. Liam wants the past restored. Brooke wants the future controlled. Douglas wants peace. And Thomas wants nothing from her, at least not enough to fight anymore. And maybe that's the very reason she can no longer pretend what comes next. September 30 doesn't bring a confession or declaration, but it brings the tipping point. The tension that has been building for weeks tightens into something unignorable. Hope is torn. Yes, but she is no longer lost. She sits in the flicker of the lamp's glow and lets herself admit, for the first time without interruption, that the part of her she tried to bury is still beating. Whether she chooses stability or surrender, history or change, Liam or Thomas, this moment marks the beginning of her truth.